Hey guys, welcome back to the Hill Online. I'm Dustin. This is Cassie. Man, we're at Bolivar today. So excited, man! Starting a new series today. Homework, stuff families face,
Yeah.
real stuff families face,
Yeah.
and today's title is "Can You Hear Me Now?" All about communication.
That's right, guys. And speaking of communication, man, we would love to connect with you. If you're new around here, maybe it's your first time at the
Yeah.
Hill, whether online or in person, man, we just want to welcome you and thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this today. And also just invite you to connect with us. And you can do that by texting the word connect to 417-670-2727. And also, like, if you're interested in taking next steps, maybe you've been around for a while,
Yeah.
but man, you're interested in taking a next step towards a group or connect class, like just getting to know about the Hill as a whole, or whatever that looks like, baptism. Definitely text that word connect so we can get connected with you and help you take your next step in faith.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Man, we want you to reach out, man. We have groups online and in
Yeah.
person at every campus.
That's
and
right.
We want you guys to just get plugged in. And we want you to stick around for after service so we can fill you in about a little bit more information.
That's right, guys. Lots of cool stuff always coming up around the Hill. And so just stick around right now. Let's head into service and worship together.
What's up, guys? Man, it's good to be in Bolivar this morning. I just want to know how Donna got Alexa saved. Anybody else? No, real talk. Like some of y'all, if your Alexa goes off, it's like Garth Brooks, blame it all on my roots. Showed up in boots. No, don't sing that. You need to come to the altar. Come to the altar. For Pastor Clinton, though, it's hell's bells. You know what I mean? Like, it's different for Donna, it's like a spirit-filled worship song. How do you do that? It's so incredible, man. Hey, before we get into our series, just want to give a little update from Webb City. We're 2 weeks in. We had some people saved last week. Come on, let's go. It was awesome. We got some baptisms. One young lady, I say young lady, she's probably like fifth grade. She looked up, held her mom's hand, and she's like, "Mom, I felt God today." Come on, somebody. It was incredible. She said she's never said that in church. Another young man came to our, during interactive, came up for prayer, and his spine, the dad told me, was twisting and was like an S, you know. And so our prayer team prayed for him, and I got a text on Wednesday and of a picture, and his spine, praise God, was perfectly straight. Let's go. God is on the move. Come on, it's exciting. We're going to be jumping into a new series called Homework. Anybody love homework when you were growing up? A few of you. I don't, you know what? If you liked homework, I don't know. We probably would have been friends, but not close friends. Come on. Like, that's cool. Like, I did my homework, but I didn't get home and think, I can't wait. Please, math teacher, can I have some more of it? Anybody? And so, like, as we were working through this series, I almost didn't even want to title it homework because my concern was people be like, oh, great. Nope, I'm skipping the next 3 weeks. Anybody? And so what we're really going to be talking about is the work that God does in us, right? And throughout church, throughout our home, and every area of our life. And how the truth is, wherever we're at in life, we all have work to do, right? So we're going to talk about just how we can grow. James chapter 1, verse 19 says it like this: be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. This week, we're specifically talking about communication. Title is, Can You Hear Me Now? Remember those old commercials? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I'm like the spokesperson, man. I'm always driving, always on the road, different campus and stuff. And that becomes like a routine part of my day in certain areas of that. Are you still there? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? I can hear you. Hold on. Let me get above this hill. Anybody know what I'm talking about, right? I talk to our teams at every campus, and we say this all the time. The burden of communication is on the communicator. So for me, like I was out of town for a couple days this week, and I had a list of things that I needed Jace to do. And in my conversation with him, I'm driving. I'm like, okay, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. I need you to do this, and I need you to do this. None of them were major. I'm out of town, and he calls, and he goes, hey, Dad, what was it you needed me to do? And I was like, man, did you not write it down, right? Do you not remember? And so I went through it in my head, and I told him, and it had been easy to be frustrated, but the reality is the burden of communication is on the communicator. Right now, he has a responsibility there, but it's my job to make sure if I need him to do something, it's my job to make sure that it's clearly and effectively communicated so that he knows the expectation, the task, or whatever might be necessary for him to do. Are you with me? And so the reality is, for so many of us, because we don't clearly communicate, we often say this as well, to be unclear is unkind. Because we don't clearly communicate, there's frustration. Anybody, am I talking just preaching to myself today, right? How many of you guys have had big frustrations in your marriages or with your children or at your job because of little moments of lack of communication? Am I talking to anybody, right? Like that's so often for so many of us. That's the reality. Now, the truth is, healthy families, healthy relationships, let me just say that. Healthy relationships, they're built on healthy conversations, healthy communications. The reality is words, they'll either build walls or bridges in our life. So there's three types that we're going to talk about for just a little bit of time. Three types of communications that we have to work through. Okay, we're going to talk earthly communications, then we're going to talk heavenly communications, just so you know where we're going, right? There are three types of communications we need to work through. Number one is distracted communication. Right? We're talking, but we're focused on everything else going on in our life. Does anybody ever deal with that? Right? Like, so for an example of that, it's like when you're on your phone, right? Let me see your phone. Gary, let me see your phone. So that's like when I'm having look at the faith he had to just throw his phone to me. He's like, "Bo can catch. I'm proud of you. Thank you you saw me airball it out there and you still had the way to go." So, what happens so often in our life, we're having a communication, we're talking, we're having a conversation, but our conversation is like this. That's a neat picture. Gary, can you unlock this for me? No, just come up and unlock this for me. Taking forever, bro. Okay, thank you. And we're looking at cameras. Okay. So what happens, I can't believe he unlocked it. I would never do that. Listen, you could be trapped in an ATM and it on fire. And what needed you to get out of that place is my passcode to my phone. And guess what? You're going to die. I am not telling, literally, you could be being chased by a serial killer. And the answer was, I need to call 911. Pastor Bo, will you unlock your phone so I can call 911? I will unlock my phone and say, what's the number? I don't trust you with my... Am I talking? Anyhow, way to go. But I am going to shut it. There we go. So distracted, look at me trying to communicate, and I'm talking about killers and fire. What's wrong with me? We're having this conversation, but this is what it looks like. Yeah. By the way, your dad texts you. You're grounded. Just kidding. I don't know. I didn't read it. but the reality is, this is, and we're thinking to myself, and whether it's with our children or with our parents or with our siblings or with our wives or husbands or our people that we work with, what happens is inevitably, what do they say? Are you listening to me? Yeah. But we're totally distracted in our life. Look at that throw. That was so cool that you caught that one-handed. I'm a pretty good multitasker. I really am. Like, I can have a lot going on. Matter of fact, I struggle when there's a single task. Like, I'm a distracted driver, 100%. If I'm at 10 and 2 and I'm focusing on the road, I'm probably falling asleep. Clinton hates to ride with me because I'm all the time looking at deer. I'm like, man, there could be an alligator in the ditch. And he's like, there's no alligators in Missouri. I'm like, how do you know? He said, I've never seen one. I'm like, I want to be the first. You know what I mean? Like, I'm distracted. I am 100%. I'm like, you never know what you could miss if your eyes are on the road. Matter of fact, I was reading a Facebook post this week, and a buddy of mine, true story, a buddy of mine was like, I've wrecked 3 cars this week. I've totaled 3 cars, not this week, this year. All 3 of them were people that were on their phones not paying attention. I responded, no joke. I responded, and my comment said this: should I have read this in its entirety and responded while driving? He was not impressed. I thought it was hilarious. Now, here's the reality, right? So I'm a pretty good multitasker, and I have a tendency to do that. But what happens in my marriage with my wife, if I'm on my phone or trying to multitask, what Megan needs is my undivided attention. She needs all of me in that moment, right? She doesn't need me on my phone. What she needs is eye contact and ear contact. Now, when we're distracted, I was looking at this from a psychology perspective, and this is what it said as I was studying this out. The challenge for the other person When we are distracted, here's what they feel. The person on the receiving end often feels dismissed, unimportant, or even devalued. Check this out. You're on your phone. I'm listening. For me, Facebook, but it's more like Facebook Marketplace. Because what kind of deal am I missing out on by not doing both two things at once? Am I talking? What it communicates to that person is that you're an interruption in my day versus my priority. And just to be honest with you guys, I thought, how often in my life have I unintentionally communicated to my children, you're an interruption? We're having lunch, just the two of us, me and Jace, and I wonder how often what I communicated to him was, I love you, but not as much as I love my phone. Second type of communication is undistracted. Undistracted is we're giving them our time, but not our mind. This is probably me, more than even distracted communication. What does that mean? Well, for instance, Saturday nights, it's not like a specific time of day, and you could ask Megan, and she would tell you this is a weekly occurrence. My mind shifts out of Saturday and into Sunday, into what I got to do the next day. For you guys, it may not be Saturday, it could be a Tuesday or whatever it is, but we could be driving down the road, coming home from vacation on a Saturday, having a great conversation, and I'll get quiet because my mind starts shifting into what Sunday's going to look like. You know, and I'm talking with the Lord a little bit, and I'm thinking about the sermon and the message, and I'm thinking about what we got to do at different campuses, and my mind shifts, and there's times Megan's like, no, like we're having a conversation, and she's like, don't shift yet. Now, here's the reality. I haven't left the car. I haven't left the living room. We're still talking. She has my time, but not my mind. And so often for so many of us, what we lose is we're willing to give our time, but we're not willing to invest mentally or emotionally into the conversation. So it's not just eye contact and ear contact, it's also heart contact. Now, here's the challenge with that. The person knows you're physically there, but they sense your heart is absent. Have you ever had that where you're having a conversation and they say, are you listening? Or is everything okay? And what do we always say? Oh, yeah, everything's good. I'm just thinking about. And they're like, well, we're talking about. What happens is it becomes transactional. And it becomes a business agreement in the moment. And again, I'm not talking to you. You guys probably are perfect communicators in every way. I struggle. And I think how often, again, I'm just talking about my kids, even like Briley or Chloe, how easy it is to be having a conversation about their day, but my brain is off thinking about everything else I got to do, right? And I unintentionally make them feel like a customer, or I'm a customer of theirs. Come on, somebody, right? Thirdly, it's focused communication. They have our undivided attention, and the reality is this is life-giving. One way that I've learned to do this is by the questions I ask. I'm probably the only, 17, 15, 13, and 8. Those are my kids' ages. And what I discovered about preteens and teens is they will answer what you ask them. Anybody with teens, I'm going to ask you a question. Pretend you're your daughter in this moment, okay? How was your day? Fine. I've never known a teenager say anything other than fine, right? Anybody know what I'm talking about, right? It's the truth for a lot of it. It's my kid. Fine. Jace, how was football practice? Good. Which is the same thing as fine. He's never said terrible. He's never said amazing. It's always fine, right? Well, how was lunch? How was the dinner? How was church? It's good. I'm going to talk to just this crowd. Y'all stress me out. Okay? Just being real. Am I talking, any parents, can I talk on your behalf, right? We just want to connect, that's all. We want to love you and show you that you love. Are you with me, right? So what I've learned is my kids will answer the question that I ask. Who's the burden on? The burden of communication is on the communicator. So what's happened is I've shifted the questions I ask from being broad. If I ask a broad question, I get a broad answer. If I ask a focused question, I get a focused answer. So now it looks like this. I'll be hanging out with my kids. We'll be end of the day chatting, and I'll say this. Maybe it's this. Hey, Benaya's, hey, Benny, what happened today that just made you laugh? And he'll say, oh. Whenever, and then he'll tell a story. And he's 8, so usually it has to do with some kind of gas expelled out of his body. He's an 8-year-old boy. I wish I was joking. He's proud. The other day, his football team, he's Mighty Mite, 3rd grade, and they got to go to the high school football team's locker room and do their pregame before they go out to play against Miller. And I'm talking to him at the game, and I asked that question, Benny, what was the part that happened that you just thought was awesome? It wasn't how was your time in the locker room? Because what's he going to say? Fine, I answered your question so I can go play with my friends. So I said, Benny, what was the most amazing part? What part did you think this is awesome? This is what he said. Probably when the coach and the players got together, knelt down and prayed. See, now we have a way to communicate and talk. Another question that I'll ask, maybe I'm asking Chloe, it might be, hey, what happened today that made you feel the presence of God? And sometimes that answer's, oh man, I was driving home, and it just quit raining, and I watched the sunset. And it was just majestic. Because God's beauty is shown in his creation. See, now we're getting to have a conversation that's connecting us versus her answering your dad's questions. Or it could be, man, my friend was going through this, and I got to have a really good conversation with her about how God's our peace. So maybe the question is, how did God use you today? See, the burden of communication is on the communicator. And I need to make sure I, as the father, am having good communication with my children. For my wife, I get home, and she rarely will say by itself, how was your day? Usually it's something like, hey, she may start to, how was your day? And what do I say? Because I'm a teenager? You know me. Fine. And then she'll say something like, anything happen today that I can help you with? And now I'm like, oh yeah, actually. See, when we ask focused questions, we get focused answers. If we ask broad questions, we get broad answers. Are you with me? Now, when we have focused conversation, here's the result. The person feels valued, prioritized, and loved. Here's what it communicates. You matter more than anything else going on right now. And it really mirrors the way Christ is with us. So quick recap, and then we're gonna shift a little bit. How do people feel when we communicate each way? When we're distracted, they feel rejection and pain. When we're undistracted, they feel confusion and insecurity. When we're focused, they feel love, safety, and connection. And there's a big difference between listening and hearing, right? Listening often has to do with responding. Hearing often has to do with understanding. Jesus said it like this, he who has ears, let him hear. Meaning, don't just listen so that you have information. Jesus talking to the disciples in the crowd. He says, hear so you have understanding and life change. Don't listen so you can respond why you did what you did. Hear so you can understand why they feel the way they feel. Big difference. And I'm guilty of this because I want to win every conversation I'm in. I'm the only one. Okay. I was, okay, I'm going to tell it. I'll just have to hurry somewhere else. I was going fishing with Jeff Hackelman, Pastor Jeff, and we were going offshore. And I'm looking at the waves, and it was bad. Like it was way out there, and there's big waves. And I'm like, hey, it doesn't look that bad. Let's go fishing. He said, it's too rough. You won't like it. The next day, Pastor Jeff, I want to go offshore fishing. I want to catch some red snapper so I can make fish tacos. Let's go. He said, it's too bad. You're not going to like it. It's too rough. So this goes on for 3 or 4 days. He finally says, you want some of that? I said, I want all that has to offer. What I didn't know was I was going to be violently ill the entire time. Listen, I never had motion sickness until I got on that boat. Now I suffer with it. Come on now. I was like curled up in the fetal position, sucking my thumb. I wish I was lying. I wasn't sucking my thumb, but I was curled up on. He had a bean bag that he brought because he knew I was going to get sick, and he threw it. He goes, "Lay on that while we fish." And I'm laying on that thing, green from being motion sickness. Right? So we get back, and he says, "Now, do you understand what I meant when I said it was too rough?" That's what I said. I go, "I understood when you said it, but now I get it, because when you said it, it was information." When I experienced it, it was revelation. The difference between hearing and listening. Lastly, before we go into the spiritual side of this, 3 ways husbands and wives can communicate. 3 simple ways. Take notes. Take notes. Number 1 is face-to-face. That's having a conversation. Face-to-face. We're just going to talk. Number 2 is heart-to-heart. That's, hey, we're going to talk about some stuff that we're really going through. How are you feeling? How are you really doing? That's heart-to-heart. That's a deep, deep connection. Number 3 is hip-to-hip. I'll let you figure out what that means. If you're not sure, you can ask Clinton on Monday. Someone right now is like, but I don't get it. It's okay. Ask Clinton tomorrow. I hope he gets 150 text messages that he has to answer tomorrow. Actually, text Ashley because she'll break out in a rash. Ask Ashley. It'll make her super. Clinton won't care. Ashley will be uncomfortable. She's going red right now. We got to move on. Sorry, distracted. Okay, let's talk about what does this look like in our relationship with God. First of all, we have to understand prayer is the basis of our relationship with God. It's how we communicate with him. Okay? We talk and we anticipate him to talk back, right? In the Bible, one of the way they describe prayer is this word proseuchomai. Right? And the definition in the Greek for proseuchomai is a 2-way conversation with intense meaning and fulfillment. And I thought to myself, how often am I talking at God instead of talking with God? And I really, bringing it down to my life, how often when Clinton and I are meeting and hanging out during the week, is Clinton talking at me, or am I talking at him versus talking with each other? Or my wife or my children? Right? Or how often am I making good, healthy relationships a business transaction instead of proseuchomai, a 2-way conversation with intense meaning and fulfillment? So let's rewind for a few seconds and let's go back to distracted conversation, communication, but let's interchange it with prayer. What does distracted prayer look like? We breathe out a prayer while our minds and while we're doing many other things. So for instance, I could have been praying on Saturday morning and praying like I'm praying. I'm like, God, you're so good. God, I pray you be with the people and thank you for what you're doing at every campus and people are getting saved. The building's almost done and we're going to pay that thing off soon. Come on, somebody. But then what happens is all of a sudden my phone goes off with notifications and while I've been preaching, I got a text message from other campuses and other people, and it's everything I can do while I'm preaching to not click that button. And I think about that in my prayer life and how as I'm praying and I'm talking to God, a notification goes off and I'm just habit. I click it and I see Mahomes run over the cornerback. And I'm like, that was awesome. Why are people upset about it? And then that makes me think, why did Kelsey run over Worthy? Oh, I know why. Because Kelsey's head was in a box suite with his girlfriend. Come on now. It wasn't in the game. Why on earth? And now my prayer life's done because I'm distracted. I'm going everywhere else instead of in the moment. Instead of having a 2-way conversation with intense meaning and fulfillment. There's a story of a lady named Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. Jesus shows up on the scene. It's a really cool story. He would often stay at their house. And they get there, and he's hanging out with Lazarus, and Mary and Martha are in this moment. And they're doing 2 separate things. And Martha, she's doing everything. Martha's cooking. She got up at 4 a.m. to cook the chicken or to start making biscuits. What's the bread everyone likes? Sourdough. She's getting the sourdough ready. She's making gravy for the biscuits and gravy, and she's frying chicken about noon. And Jesus shows up, and she's been cleaning and dusting and vacuuming and doing. I don't know if they had vacuums back then. I doubt it. Nevertheless, she's doing all this stuff, man, and she's serving everybody. She made the tea and the Kool-Aid, and she put a little bit of grenadine in the Diet Pepsi because that's how Pastor Bo, a little cherry flavoring in the Diet Pepsi. She's doing it all. And Jesus is sitting there, and she looks at Jesus, and she says, tell Mary to help me. I'm doing it all by myself. Now, Martha had a heart to serve. Is that bad? No. Matter of fact, the Bible calls it a spiritual gift. And sometimes, when you're that person that has that servant spirit, and you read this story, and we almost get a little bit indignant, like, well, what's wrong with that? Mary should have been helping. Mary, or what's wrong with that? Like, that's who I am. My brother said one time, you need to be a Martha with a merry heart. I thought that was so good. Martha's like doing all the stuff. Ephesians talks about it. Romans 12 says, I beseech you, brethren, to not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but to be transformed, right? To have your minds transformed. And he goes on into the image of his likeness, and it goes on from there, and it talks about us learning the perfect, acceptable, and pleasing will of God the Father. And from there in Romans, it bleeds into this new idea of these different gifts and offices of the Spirit. And one of them is serving. It's a spiritual thing. So the problem that Martha had wasn't the activity, it was the motive. How do I know? Because what does Martha say in this moment? She says, make Mary do what I'm doing. Because see, this is important to me, and because it's important to me, it should be important to everybody. Because I'm more spiritual. See, for Martha, it wasn't about serving Jesus. It was about being seen by Jesus. And I thought, how often in the church, how often in our lives do we serve people, but we don't serve them? I mean, it's who we are is to serve, but the activity is good, but our motive is to be noticed. Jesus says, Mary, I won't take away from her because she's chose what is better. It wasn't the activity that which was better. It was the motive. He says this in that scripture, Martha, you're distracted by many things. That word distracted in the Greek means cumbered. It means that your mind is drifting away. And he said, your motive missed the mark. And Mary's motive was to connect with me. So what does that mean? That means with God, I may not have this deep revelation in every conversation I have with him. But the goal isn't deep revelation. It's deep relation. Because revelation often has to do with what I get. Relationship has to do with what I give. With my kids, it's not that every time I'm going to have some deep conversation about everything going on in their life. But the goal is for them to understand they can talk to me when deep things are going on in their lives. Distracted. He said, Mary chose that which is better, and I'm not going to take it away from her. See, Martha was in the room, but she wasn't present. How often with God and with people are you there physically, but emotionally checked out? Undistracted prayer. This is when we pray, but our minds wander. And I don't mean wander because sometimes that's just, it can be challenging, right? But I really mean it more in a context of we wander from the will of the Father. Jesus said it like this. He said, when you pray, pray this way. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it's being done in heaven. That means, God, I have a desire, but I want your will to shine forth. That's undistracted prayer. Right? What happens for many of us is we're praying our will to God. So it sounds a lot more like a Santa Claus wish list than it does a relationship building, a two-way conversation with intense meaning and fulfillment. It sounds like this. God, I pray I get a raise. God, I pray you do this. God, I pray you change them. God, I pray you fix that. God, I pray you'd have my boss fired. Come on now. God, I pray, whatever it is. God, I pray this will happen for me. God, when am I going to get a wife? When am I going to get a husband? When am I going to get this? When am I going to get that? When am I going to be noticed? When am I? And if you'll notice, our prayer life becomes all about me. And what happens is when we become the focus of our lives, when I becomes the focus of all I do, when it becomes my dream, what the Bible calls that is an idol or an idol. And that's not okay. I was reading in Acts 1 this morning. I was up and just having some proseuchomai with the Lord, and I was wanting to go over all my stuff, and I just thought, no, man, I don't need to practice. I just need to connect. Come on, somebody. And so I went to Acts 1, and I was just reading Acts 1 again, and I got to that point that the disciples, Jesus has died and he's resurrected, and the disciples are like, is this the moment that you're going to restore the kingdom? And they didn't. And I wrote in my Bible previously, they still didn't get it. He'd already restored the kingdom. He'd already brought the king's dominion to the earth. That was done. But the part that I saw this morning that I never saw as I'm proshuklamaing with the Lord was at this time. And I went, oh my gosh. Their prayer was what they thought he wanted, but when they wanted it. And I wrote in my Bible, if I'm going to trust God, I have to trust his timing. Right? It's this moment of like, listen, I don't want to pray my will. Then I thought about how many of us, like, whenever we're going through something, we ask other people what we should do, but we ask it very skewed. What does that mean? Okay, let me. If I'm talking to Clinton, which we talk about a lot of stuff, and guns is one of them. If I was like, well, matter of fact, we were talking about a gun for him, and he was like, man, I really want to get a 22-250 because I want a coyote hunt, and I want to shoot long range, and I think that's a really good gun, and so we started looking them up. We were having this great conversation, and then he was like, but I want to use the deer hunt too, but I'm really excited about the 22-50, and then maybe he said, or should I get a 243? Now, which of those does he want? Yes. Of course, the 22-250. This is what we do when we're asking people's opinion. We pitch it, there's two options, but we pitch it, we say it in a way that makes it sound like there's only one real opinion. For me, it's like, should I get a Staccato 2011? Because it does this and it done all this stuff, or should I get another Glock? And Clinton's like, the first question you should ask is, do you need another gun? And the answer is always yes. Nobody? All right, thank you, Stanton. Stanton and I connected over 4570s over a year ago. First day he was here. He was saved in my phone for a long time. Stanton wants a 4570. The Lord is in guns. I don't have time. It's this idea when we're getting advice from people, we have a tendency to tell them what we want and then have a little bit of a, or should I do this? And what we're doing is we're putting people in a position to agree with us or offend us. And then what we have to understand is, in our lives, guys, is that we need to put people in our life that tell us what we need to hear, not what we want to hear. So what does that mean? We're talking. He wanted this 2250. I had one for sale. You should never sell guns, but I had one for sale. So I'm like, hey, well, let's talk about this, And as we talked, I was like, I don't think it's the right gun for you because you want it to be a little more versatile. I'll sell it to you, but I don't think it's the right gun for you, right? Now, the reality is when we have that conversation, and it's probably more like this, it probably is more, should I get a 22-250 or should I get a Creedmoor or whatever it was? See, it needs to be emotionless. So then they can help us walk through our emotions to work to a solution. Right? Here's the reality, guys. In your life, you will always find co-signers to help you make a bad decision. Problem is they don't have any credit. They don't have any spiritual credit. And you make a bad decision and you're looking at your life and you're like, how'd I end up here? It's undistracted prayer, meaning I'm praying, but I'm really not praying God's will, I'm praying my own. Lastly, focused prayer. So we've talked through, I'm distracted. I'm undistracted, but I'm praying my will, not God's. And now focused prayer. And that's really where I allow my head and my heart to both talk and listen. There's a story in the New Testament, in the book of Matthew, about the Syrophoenician woman. I thought you might ooh and awe when I said that correctly. When I first learned how to say Syrophoenician, I said it all the time. I felt good about myself. I felt like a scholar. Let me help you. Repeat after me. Syrophoenician. Didn't you feel good? Like, don't you just feel like my IQ went up 2 points? Anybody else? Like, I feel good. Syrophoenician. Like, if I read it in the NLT, which is what I have it in, I won't say Gentile. I will say Syrophoenician. Come on, well, I'll show you right here. Here's what it says. And then Jesus left Galilee north to the region of Tyre and Sidon, and a Syrophoenician woman who lived there, Gentile. Same thing, it's just a little more descriptive. Now, she walks up to him, and she does a couple things. She's yelling, Lord, Son of David, have mercy. I'm going to read it. I don't want to miss it. Here's what it says. And she said, pleading, Lord, have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David, for my daughter is possessed by a demon that torments her severely. But Jesus gave her no reply, not even a word. Then his disciples urged him to send her away. Tell her to go away, they said. She's bothering us with all her begging. And then Jesus said to the woman, I was sent only to help God's lost sheep of Israel. But she came and she worshiped him, pleading again, Lord, save me. Jesus responded, it isn't right to take away food from the children and throw it to the dogs, she replied. Then, that's true, Lord, but even the dogs are allowed to eat the scraps that fall beneath the master's table. Dear woman, Jesus said to her, your faith is great, your request is granted, and her daughter was instantly healed. There's a lot we have to unpack with focused prayer, right? Syrophoenician, Gentile, they were a lower level human considered in the day. They weren't allowed to be around Jews. They weren't respected by Jews, and especially someone like a rabbi, in this case, Jesus. And she's yelling, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. Lord, she's praying, God, I need help in my life. God, I'm struggling with depression. God, I'm struggling with my kids or my marriage or my business or my job or with the church or whatever it is. She's crying out, God, I need help. And what does he say? Nothing. So the first thing that you have to overcome in focused prayer is silence. Silence is hard. I talk a lot. I talk during movies. I talk in my sleep. I do not have the ability to not talk. It's a spiritual gift that I do not have. Let me give you an example. We're just going to be silent for 5 seconds. Here we go. Was that awkward for anybody other than me? I had to work through some things right there. First thing, my shirt is hitting my stomach weird. And I thought I really need to start working out. Second thing, I noticed how my lips are so, like I got spit all over them. I didn't notice it in 2 hours of preaching. I noticed it right then. It was stressing me out. I thought to myself, does it look like I have lip gloss on? Then I thought, man, my hair's thinning. Like, is it look okay? I don't know. I can't see it. Then my hands were in my pockets, and I'm like, I have this fear. I was speaking in front of a room full of high school girls, 17, 18-year-old girls, about abstinence at a public school. I'm talking about abstinence. If you don't know what abstinence is, text Ashley tomorrow. And I'm having this conversation, and 20 minutes into my conversation with them, I look down, and my zipper's undone. Super awkward. There was no podium to hide behind. I was like, what do I do now? This is so I'm sitting there with my hands in my pockets going, oh God, I hope my zipper's not down. That was in my mind. See, what happens with silence is we start thinking about everything wrong with me. The Syrophoenician woman may have been like, God, can you do this in my life? And she may have had a thought that said, I'm a Gentile. I'm a Syrophoenician. I don't deserve it. See, the reality is, I'm thinking all these, I internalize in silence everything that's wrong. And I'm probably not the only person that does that in silence. But probably not one of you guys thought to yourself, is he wearing lip gloss? Not one of you guys probably thought to yourself, his shirt's hitting his belly weird. But what's in my mind is everything that could be wrong with me. And the truth is we handle that one of two ways. We take it out on them or we work on us. Now, that can be healthy, but that can also be unhealthy. Because sometimes I'm working to fix things on me that aren't broken. See, what we have to understand is that silence isn't bad. Often, we are formed in the most greatest ways in silence. Let me give you an example. God spoke, let there be light. God spoke, let there be the heavens and the earth. God spoke, let there be a light in the sky. Let there be an expanse. God spoke, let there be seas. God spoke, let there be a plant. God spoke, let there be animals. God said to himself, let us create man. And then silence. And he formed man with his finger. I need you to understand something. You are formed in God's silence often more than you are his speaking. Now, he speaks and he wants to speak to you, but don't be afraid of his silence in your prayer life. So she works through this idea of silence. And then, as she works through silence, the disciples are like, God, will you shut her up? Jesus, she's begging. She's being so loud. She's being so obnoxious. She won't leave us alone. She's not even supposed to be here. So she fights through silence. Then she has to fight through this cultural struggle in the world where she's going, maybe I'm out of place. Maybe I shouldn't be here anyhow. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should leave. Maybe I am just a little too zealous. Maybe I am just a little too loud. So she's having to fight through silence. And now she's having to fight through this idea of why don't I fit in? Fight through this idea of why am I always culturally out of place? See, when you're focused in prayer, there's going to be a lot of things that happen that you have to fight through. How did she respond when she thought she was out of place? I read it. Disciples urge her, send her away, tell her to go away. She's bothering us, all her begging. Jesus said to the woman, I was sent to the lost sheep of Israel. But she came and worshiped. So when distraction set in, she kept praying. When she wasn't distracted, but she was focusing, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I got all this stuff to work on, she moved past that to this place of worship. And then she says this. Jesus says this. So she moves past all that stuff. She's worshiping. She's grabbing a hold, refusing to let go. And Jesus says this. I was sent to the lost sheep of Israel. Should I feed the dogs what was meant for the kids? And I read that the first time years ago, and I thought, this poor Syrophoenician woman, I got to keep my hands out of my pockets in case my zipper's down. We need to have like a, you let me know. You promise me? Clinton's going to let me know if it ever happens. This woman, she's talking with Jesus. And Jesus says, should I give the dogs what was meant for the kids? And it was so crazy because she says even the dogs get the scraps that are left over. And I read that and I thought, Lord, why would you say this to this woman? And then I realized context has to line up with character in the Word of God. What does that mean? If the Word says something, and I have to take it in context of what it's saying, but it also has to align with the character of Jesus Christ. Because if the context and the character don't align, it's me that has an interpretation or a revelation that I need to work on. So I read that and I think, he healed a blind guy. He touched a leper. Like, contextually, he's saying, I can't feed the dogs. What was this? But at the same time, he's healed Gentiles before. At the same time, he stopped a funeral and touched a tomb. At the same time, he reached out and touched the leper, which would have made him unclean, which would have been even more of a violation of the law than what he did with this Gentile. So then I thought to myself, okay, the context and the character aren't aligning, so let me understand what Jesus is really saying. He wasn't saying to her, the conversation in that moment wasn't about her understanding who she was. It was about everyone else understanding who he was. See, in that moment, Jesus wasn't saying you're a dog and not worthy of my time. What he was showing the disciples in that moment is, I am such a good God. I am such a good God that I want to reach all nations everywhere, which, by the way, was going to happen just a little bit of time later when he says, go to Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth. He was reaching forward in time, saying it doesn't matter if you're Jew, nor Greek, nor Gentile. The pouring out of the Holy Spirit is for all men and women. In this moment, he was showing them he's so much bigger than they can understand. And also, the words they used. But even the dogs get the scraps. She was calling on his character, and he was telling the disciples, he's the God of the overflow. Meaning what? Her daughter was possessed. Meaning he doesn't just want you to survive, but he wants you to thrive. He's the God of the overflow. Worship can come on up. He's the God of the overflow. I'm reading this and my heart's challenged because I think, how often do I miss it? Because I'm not focused. How can you grow in your communication with people but also with God? 3 easy things. It's not 30 more minutes, I promise. How can you grow in your communication with people and with God? 3 simple things. Number 1, be intentional. Prepare your heart. Before you start praying, take a breath. But I have a rule at my house. I'm intentional. I don't walk in the house on the cell phone, ever. Meg, when's the last time you saw me walk in the house talking on the phone? Probably a decade. Why? Because I want them to know I'm intentionally shutting off everything else. Even if I'm not focused yet, I want them to know I'm not distracted when I walk in. It might take me a few minutes to get focused, but I want them to know I'm not distracted. Same thing with God. Be intentional. Prepare your mind, prepare your heart before you start talking to him. Doesn't have to be long, just, this is how I always pray. God, you're good. God, you're faithful. The second thing, we're going to be intentional. Number 2 is we're going to be patient. If I get home and I go, Megan, how was your day? Let's pretend. How was your day? What happened? Hey, are you happy? Like, she's not had a chance to answer the first question. How about this? How was your day? Hey, before you answer that, can you get me a peanut butter and honey with some milk? Also, I really want potatoes and gravy when we get home. And I know you got stuff to do tonight, but listen, can you make some spaghetti before you do that? Also, chocolate chip cookies really sound good. I see why my shirt hits my belly funny. I got issues. Notice, before I connect, I'm throwing requests at her. But if I'll connect, what happens? In the process of connection, she says, hey, can I make you any? You want some cookies? And that's filtered down to my kids. The other day, I was getting ready to leave out of town for a few days, and Briley gets up and makes chocolate chip cookies for me because they're my favorite. It was just out of a place of connection, not out of request. So I'm going to be, that got moved right in front of me. Yeah, distracted. That could have been painful. It's the right height. Or the wrong. Be intentional, be patient, and lastly, be consistent. Creating a time, a place, and an atmosphere of prayer. What does that mean? I'll give you an example. It wasn't planned. I'll give you an example. Pastor Donna Mona, had so created an atmosphere in her home that even her Alexa responds with worship. I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to prepare my space, but I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to pray before I eat, even if it's not a long prayer. You're going to pray with your spouse, even if it's uncomfortable. You're going to pray with your children. I got up this morning, grabbed both my girls, everyone two up, grabbed both my girls, I kissed them on the forehead. I just prayed. They were serving in soccer. Just prayed over their service. It wasn't long. It's intentional. It's consistent. Would you bow your heads? Father, I pray you'd move in our lives. God, I pray you would grow our communication both with people and with you. I pray that prashuklamai would happen, a two-way conversation with intense meaning and fulfillment in our homes, for homework, and in our relationship with you. Lord, I pray as we move into this time of interactive worship, God, we're going to have communion stations and people are going to be up here to pray. But just as much as those things are going to be awesome and powerful, Lord, I pray you would sit down right now on people's lives. And church, listen to me. And maybe you're online. I just need you to listen to me. As we're worshiping and as you're singing, at some point, I just encourage you to soften your voice, maybe in the second or third song, and just listen. Focusing on him, but then just listen and see if he doesn't want to talk to you. And here's the deal. If he's silent, it's okay to continue to be formed in that moment. I thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
back. Such a great word today by Pastor Bo, man, talking about distracted communication, undistracted, and focused. How often do I do the first two every day, man? So good.
Absolutely, man. I wish I could say that I'm always so focused, but definitely not. I would say I probably struggle the most with just that undistracted, like not really intentional, but man, just my mind wanders and goes crazy, and I struggle with that. So
Yeah.
it definitely spoke to me today for sure.
Yeah, and if you guys made a decision today or you just want to know more about Next Step, man, text the word. I know we say it time and time again, but just text the word Connect to 417-670-2727.
That's right, guys. And honestly, like that's why we want to connect. We want to grow. We want to learn. We want to walk with each other through this journey of faith. And man, that's so important. So we don't say that just to get a number or whatever, drive you crazy. Man,
Yeah.
we say that because we really want to be involved with you. We want to walk with you through this faith walk. And so also, we have Connect class coming up next Sunday at all of our campuses,
Yeah.
in person, online. So if that's something that you're interested in learning more about the Hill as a whole, serving, guys, there are opportunities to
Yeah.
serve at every campus, including online.
Yeah.
And so we want you to be a part of that. So again, if you're interested in that, be sure and text that word Connect 417-670-2727.
And follow us
I just
on
want to say I love you guys.
Pastor Bo!
follow us online at all the church dot the
Church online.
online. Yeah, I messed that up. See, distracted. We got distracted.
We got distracted. We blame Bo for that one.
So-
But no, good stuff, guys. Follow us on social media. Tons of stuff there. We want you guys to be involved in that also. But until then, we'll see you guys next Sunday
At
morning.
11. See you.
See ya.